What's up, YouTube? It's the Console Samurai with Grown Ups Gaming. At this point, we all know about No Man's Sky. We're very familiar with the negativity that has been associated with and surrounding it ever since its launch. When the game first was announced, it seemed like it had a lot of potential. From the screenshots, to the videos, the promotional material, to all the promises made by Hello Games, the developer of the game, it seemed like it was definitely going to be the kind of game you want to experience, that you want to get a hold of this because this is going to be something we have never seen before. And then the game came out and it turned out to be a pretty big disappointment, unfortunately. Now, as gamers and consumers, this isn't a foreign concept to us. We're very familiar with the idea that when we see the promotional materials for any product, whether it be a game, a movie, computer, car, whatever, we're familiar with the idea that it's being oversold to us. That the advertising agency or the manufacturer or the developer, in the case of video games, is going to be kind of overselling us on the positive features and kind of downplaying the negative features. So in response to this, we tend to just kind of scale back our expectations, knowing that, all right, well, it looks good, but we know that we're not going to get all of that you've said you're going to get. There's going to be something in there that you're forgetting to tell us, or maybe you're just exaggerating a bit too much. But when No Man's Sky came out, the gap between what we were told we were getting, what we reasonably expected, and then what we actually got was so huge that it actually became one of the biggest gaming disappointments of 2016, which so far anyway, because there are still a few months in 2016. And when you're a small company, like you're a small independent developer like Hello Games, that can be a really hard thing to handle. If you're a big company like Ubisoft and, what happened with Assassin's Creed Unity, you can weather that. You're a huge company, you'll bounce back, you're fine. But when you're a tiny little independent developer and you've really only got one game under your belt and that game has been, well, a failure, you may not bounce back. And it actually got so bad for a while that, as I mentioned, I think in a previous video, Steam and PlayStation Network were offering full refunds to gamers who bought No Man's Sky and wanted a full refund. And they did this out of their normal refund policy, which normally it's if you play a certain amount, you're not eligible for a refund anymore. But both of them suspended this for this game because there was such a rush on people wanting a refund, because the game was so far from what we were sold. And it's actually gotten so bad now that even on Steam, less than 1,000 people are still playing the game. The active user count on Steam is less than 1,000, which, considering the number of people who bought it, is a very, very small number. That is a big problem for No Man's Sky. Now, to just heap more onto it, an agency in the UK, not a government agency, a private organization, has begun to investigate No Man's Sky and Steam for false advertising and everything that went along with No Man's Sky. Because the gap, as I mentioned, was so big between what we were promised and what we actually got, this company is now being, Hello Games is now being investigated for false advertising. Which, to be fair, false advertising, as I said before, is not really a new thing. It is definitely something we expect, and we've kind of just accepted it in our culture. But the amount of false advertising that seems to have gone along with No Man's Sky, I actually kind of like the idea that they're being investigated. Not that I have any personal vendetta against them, but I like the idea that the advertising was so false that now they might have to be taken to task for it. There might be penalties for this, actually, due to all of the lies all the promises that they didn't deliver on. And I like that this might actually help keep other developers and other companies in general, not just in video games, but developers in particular are major offenders of this, that it might help keep them on task. And, we won't get a lot of these promises of, well, this feature and that feature, and this is going to be in there, and that's going to be in there. We might not have to worry about seeing so much of that anymore, because if companies are starting to be held responsible for actually putting in the things that they claim they're putting into a game, that could actually do really good things for gamers in general. In theory. The downside to that could be that we see far less promotional material, that we see far less of any kind of sneak peeks of anything. E3 may become really boring in the future. You know, because companies are going to be a lot more hesitant to show anything unless they're very close to the finished product. But I don't know. It's hard to tell how this is going to go. I think it has the potential of actually being a really good thing, but it could blow up in our collective face as gamers. But what do you think? What do you think about No Man's Sky being investigated for false advertising? Do you think that this is a good thing, or do you think it's going to open a can of worms that we don't really want in the gaming community? I think it'll be a good thing. But either way, let me know what you think in the comments down below. Once again, I am the Console Samurai, and I'll see you around.